bottle, and they use that instead of Neosporin to prevent infection in cuts. So I mean, they're that safe, and that it's an exciting area that these are really happening nationwide. People are recognizing the value. So this is just contact, and actually County has some flyers, so they have the shipping address if you want to send us samples. We would love to get them, because this is the only way we can look for new phages. And Dr. Gross will do those. We have a Facebook page, BYU Bees, and we have a website for the phage hunters at BYU. So yeah, that's pretty much my presentation. I would love to answer any questions that you might have from this. Yeah.
Is there a potential to actually genetically engineer phages to be able to combine the positive attributes of different phages into one phage? And
it's a good question. So we could do some genetic engineering, but what we find are that the phages are actually better at doing that engineering than people
themselves.
are.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why we gather a lot of them. And actually, it brings up a really good point. When we look at the different bacterial strains, there are some of our phages that maybe hit this one and that one, but not this other.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other phages that will hit this one and that one, but not this other. And so when we've done our treatments, we've actually done what we call a cocktail of phages, where we know there's like some that'll hit these ones, and some will hit these ones, and some will hit these ones. So that hopefully within those we have the right phage for whatever happens to be in your beehive. Which is actually why we look for new bacteria as well as new phages, because we want to see what are the strains of bacteria and which of our phages really hit all of those strains. And what we can do, and what we also see in nature, is that as we know, bacteria can evolve. Mm-hmm. So that bacteria have been evolving to outsmart us on our antibiotics. And the antibiotic is just a molecule. So in the antibiotic work, we basically are learning from them. You know, you can take your chemistry and change that a little bit, and then it works for a little while, and the bacteria changes. And you have to change it again. And so the same actual issue would happen in trying to engineer a phage to keep up with that. But since a phage is actually, it has its own DNA information, the phages actually do the changing themselves.
I see.
So as we go through, and we've been collecting samples over the years, we see this change in phages happening, and then we have this collection that's quite a wide array. So in the next year, we might go back to this first group, because now it's actually looking on the other, the other direction than it was in a different year. So the more samples that we can collect over time, they might not be samples we use now, but then there'll be samples in the future, or the ones that we find in the future are going to be needed as that bacteria change. The phages are great because they totally keep up. They do their change as faster than the bacteria. So it's kind of fun that they do that work for us.
Is it something you can buy now from BYU to do a pre-treatment or preventative?
So so it's a good question. So we can't sell it yet, but we can give it away.
Okay.
And the nice thing is that as we give it away, we can gather the data so that we can sell it. So we do have an investor. We actually just signed on a couple of weeks ago who is forming a company. He is going to be able to sell this, and we're hoping with the FDA process, we may actually, as soon as this next spring, have phages to sell. And that will be because the company can mass produce. At BYU, we can only make, a certain amount, so we like try to, okay, how many hives do you think we can handle treating? And then we have to grow it there in the lab and prep it, but the company will be able to mass produce it. There are several companies in the United States that already grow phages, like I say, for the tomato and for some of the other plants. There's actually a group in Salt Lake City that's a company, and we approached them, and they weren't really that interested, but we do have this new investor, and he's going to set up and actually grow it. So as soon as we get that approval from FDA, he's ready to sell.
Good.
So hopefully next summer, and if not, for sure, I'm sure it wouldn't be more than 2 summers away for sales. But right now, because we do have to jump through these FDA hoops, we want to give away as much as we can, because we get that data that helps us to get that point. So it's a good place to be. Yeah. There was a question back here.
Well, I just wondered, so it sounds like so far you can just use this once you find AFD in your hive. Do you think there'll be a point where you can have something like pre-treatment or something?
So actually that is the plan, and we have been doing pre-treatments in a whole bunch of hives actually this year. And so that's been in the feed So the video that clip where they came and filmed us for the news, that was for treating an infected hive. We do spray it on because it's much more effective. It gets across all your racks, it gets on all your bees, and it gets delivered to the brood very quickly. But for preventative, we just put it in the feed, and you can put it in your feeding trough inside the hive in spring. And then you do it again in fall, just the same way you would do with antibiotics, but just using phages. So I know the company wants to sell it both for preventative and for treatment. Which is exciting because our data is showing that the preventative is actually working as well. So yeah,
Right, and then you're not getting all this resistance. because
it's so exciting, right?
That's great, yeah.
Yeah. But was there another question?
Do the
Oh, yeah.
phages continue to live after the spores are killed?
So after it kills the bacteria, the phages really need, they want to do, in fact, continue to do infection. So if the bacteria is all dead, the phages hang around for a while, but some of them are more stable than others. So we've tested those. Some of them are like super stable, and they'll hang around for a while. But the bees like eat things, and so what we find is that they cycle out of the hive, because of course bees are really clean too, so they go and they go outside of the hive when they use the restroom. We see that it's not necessarily very long that the phages stay inside the hive. So in some of our studies, within 3 days even of doing a heavy treatment, it drops down to really, really low levels of phages. Which is why in the hives, like naturally, we really have to hunt. It's about 100, if we look at 100 larva samples, we might find a phage in 4 in a healthy hive. So that's not very frequent that we run into them, and that level drops down pretty rapidly after you do a treatment, but they're kind of there. So, but you know, that's actually not, and so we do actually 3 treatments. We'll do a treatment, and then we'll wait 4 days, 4 to 7 days, do another treatment, and then wait another 4 to 7 days, and then do a 3rd treatment. So it's 3 treatments, either in feed or if you're doing spray on. And I think on some we did like 4 when we were doing an infected hive for treatment. So that you can really get that turnover of whatever happens to be right there. And that would be the preventative. But then that means, yes, come fall, you would want to go through a prevention. Or if you wanted to midsummer, because it is safe, you could at any point just, you know, if your bees happen to be willing to eat sugar, I mean, you know, in summer they stop doing much eating at all anyway, right? But if they are, then you can do a phage treatment anytime. So, yeah.
So if we were to collect a sample from you, from our hives, I don't have anything out dead in front, but if I was to collect a sample of live bees or something like that, what would make you real happy from each hive? I mean, because you say you only find 4 phages
Right.
in 100 bees. I mean,
Right, so like usually...
you'd probably frown if I sent you 10 bees.
Yeah, so like a little baggie full of, you know, bees. I mean, obviously you should have them be dead.
And you would prefer sample from each hive?
Yeah, yes, we would, because then we can actually see, because the hives tend to have totally different things in them.
Right.
So what we would ask is, and do you want to hand those out?
So maybe 50 bees from each hive?
Yeah, that would be super great. So, and just throw them in there, and then we smash them up and actually look through all of those.
Oh,
Yeah, and so we'll take larva samples if you want. Those are kind of like a pain because you have to pull them out, and also at this time of year we're not gonna have much larvae anyway. But if you have dead
Yeah.
bees, or if you want to pull some bees out from the hive that are there right now.
Well, I can give you bee samples. I'd rather wait till late spring to give you
Sure.
larva samples.
Yeah, sure, and that would be great.
Yeah, I don't like messing with them this late in the year. You
Yeah, I
throw
totally
a
agree.
queen in there.
No, I know, right? Don't like everything's good now. You're all ready for winter. You leave them be. Leave them be. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, right. Well, we know how it is to be YouTuber, right? Have to have some bee humor, right? So yeah, we would absolutely love that, and we'll go through all of those. So that's
Is
why we
anybody
have.
else interested in doing this? Helping them out?
Yeah. that
If
would
you
be
guys could
awesome.
put all your bee samples with any information she needs in a plastic bag and maybe
We
drop
could
them off
throw
at
it
the
in a
store,
box and
I'll
just
put them all in one box together
Awesome.
and we'll ship them
Ship
all
them
out.
off to us. Yeah.
I'll take charge of that if you guys can get the samples from your hive.
That would
I'll
be
do that.
great. Now, I do say one thing though about phages. They don't last very long in sunlight.
Okay.
So when you collect your samples, don't leave them like the baggie sitting there in the window where the sun can hit it or something.
Alright.
So just keep them in the dark. In the hive, it's nice because you know they're not going to be hit by sunlight anyway.
So a
But
sandwich
once you grab it,
Ziploc bag with
Ziploc bag.
as many bees as you can spare from each of your hives,
Yeah, that would be awesome.
preferably dead.
Preferably dead. Yes.
Do
Yeah,
you
and,
need any information on that, where it came
yeah,
from?
so it would be best just put
It's
it,
on there.
yeah, it's on there, just put it where, approximately where your hive was, or if you wanna put a hive number, if you happen to, keep track of which hive is what. And we keep track of that in our records. So, when we do, publications of research, we'll have like acknowledgements, so we have people who are actually published in our sequences. A beekeeper, in Salt Lake was really excited, because he's like, in 2 of our publications as thanks, he gave us samples. So, we'll acknowledge you when we actually find something that ends up being really useful for the research community. That's what, we can't do it without you. So, yeah.
You said you wanted them out of sunlight, so do you want them like more recent dead?